Karl and Kelli Ebel have an NPAC conservation easement on their 1,000-acre grassland ranch in Hopkins County. The Ebels began restoring their land using rotational grazing with cattle and goats. We met with Karl and Kelli in the fall of 2021 to talk about their experience raising a grassland ranch.
We went probably a year without any livestock, just a few cows. I bought 10 cows to start with, and then we had our goats. But the rotational grazing is the first thing that we implemented, and probably the most powerful management tool that we used. And just about, and it's fascinating because in about 6 years, we saw species, vegetation, grass, that we had never identified prior to that. That was Sylvius drop seed, the big blue stem you see here beside you, Indian grass. We never saw that in the early days. Those are late successional grasses that do well under proper management, but if overgrazed, you won't hardly see them. They begin to reappear again, just with rotational grazing. You probably are familiar with that, where you give the prairie, you give the grassland a rest, just like you're trying to essentially mimicking what the buffalo did when they migrated, large numbers, grazed, and then left. So the response is pretty amazing. If you would have seen what was here before, you couldn't identify hardly any of these species that you see here. It just wasn't enough of the plants that were showing, and there was so much bare ground showing. So that was what started the transformation.
But yeah, so shifting from raising cows to raising grasses, native prairie, and really at the beginning, I mean, I had such a lack of knowledge, and he was out here working the land. We were starting our family. I bought him the books and gave to him, but I didn't read the books myself, and I was just busy doing my thing. And it really wasn't until we had Jason Singhurst come out from Texas Parks and Wildlife, and when we went across the prairie, and I'll never forget this moment, we turn off the four-wheeler and it just gets quiet, and he looks around and he says, "This is a global rarity. This is a global rarity." And I just remember my shoulders went up. I went back a little bit, and I stood a little prouder, and I really didn't know what he was talking about. But then I realized that we were in a Sylvius drop seed prairie that is critically imperiled. And that's when he sparked me, like, wow, this really is important. And so even living right here in it, it took me 10 years for me to get the knowledge. And then once you become aware, once the light is on, there's no going back, and it's absolute vital to protect the native prairie. And it's the livelihood of thousands of species that connect with our livelihoods. And that's when you just see how it all works hand in hand. We know in our hearts is the right thing to do, is to protect our land.
They believe in sharing their property with others.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of our motivations for living here. It's for our family, for our friends, for our community to be able to come and enjoy and relax in a natural setting. But again, more importantly, we're beginning to see that they also need the knowledge. They need to have the experience, because growing up, we didn't see grasslands. In our little neighborhoods that were all nicely manicured, that's what I had in mind was pretty. And so I think it's really important to get our friends and extended family and our community. We work with the local schools. We work with all different types of groups to get the younger kids out here so that they can begin to visualize what is truly our heritage of the Texas prairie lands.